Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Indiana Overtime. Alex McCarthy, Seth Tao here at Memorial Stadium, where we just watched Indiana improve to 2-0 this season. They beat Ball State 30-20 in a game where they led 30-0 and looked like they were just gonna bulldoze Ball State. But we'll get to that. Maybe the biggest story of the night, the two biggest stories of the night. Simmie Cobbs played one play, and it might be his only play of the season. He injured his ankle, and Kevin Wilson said it might require surgery. He could be gone for the year. Dan Feeney left the game with a concussion, which actually kind of comes at a good time because Indiana has a bye week next week. So
not that there's ever a good time for a concussion.
Right, but in terms of on the field production for Indiana,
you'd rather
it kind of comes at an okay time. So those are kind of the big. It's a win for Indiana, but it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth if you're
just like last during the FIU game, the fourth quarter left you feeling good about the Hoosiers. If you're going off that basis, this fourth quarter is not going to make
not so much.
Really good.
No, this was Indiana dominated a lot of this game and then got dominated really in the last 20, 25 minutes or so. Ball State goes down 20-0 run, 17-0 in the fourth quarter. Indiana looked all out of sorts in the fourth quarter. Their saving grace was just that the clock ran out, and Indiana was able to run the clock out fairly well in its last possession and drain enough time where Ball State had to score twice with like 34 seconds on the clock or something, which obviously wasn't going to happen. So they got out of it.
Early in the game, it didn't even look like it was going to be at that point where Ball State would have maybe a chance to come back in the game.
Right, and you thought maybe this was going to be a game where you see like Xander Diamant or
it looked like it was starting to get out of hand.
Yeah, but
there were some plays that reeked of desperation from Ball State, especially the Marcelino ball interception.
Yeah,
that just looked like a heave downfield and hope that someone would be there. And
right.
Ball easily picked it off. There was no receiver even close.
Yeah, and it was interesting. The second Ball State field goal, they get down into the red zone. It's like a 4th and 5 or something, and they settle for a field goal instead. It was just kind of a surrender move a little bit, it seemed like, and then they got kind of back into it, and you wonder what would have happened if they had gone for it on that 4th down. But yeah, just a really ugly finish to this game. Kevin Wilson said they kind of maybe ran out of gas a little bit. I mean, it was a long game, but they played so well in the fourth quarter and Muggy Ford last week.
And then Tigre Scales also said that Ball State brought out some new looks that IU wasn't really anticipating later in the game, which combined with the defense getting a little worn out, gave Ball State some momentum.
Yeah. So it ends on kind of an uncertain note for Indiana, but there were a number of positives in the game. Obviously, they did build that 30-0 score, thanks in part to basically the guy who's become Simmie Cobbs' replacement, more or less, Nick Westbrook. He's been the go-to guy pretty much for Lego. Yeah, in both games so far. He only had 3 catches tonight, but they count. I mean, he had a 43-yard touchdown reception.
3 catches, but 133 yards.
Yeah, he had the 43-yard touchdown. He had a 79-yard touchdown to start the second half, which basically was just him catching the ball and running straight.
He took the screenplay to the house. Give the assist to Danny Friend on the block.
Yeah, another great game from Danny Friend. I don't know if he had a reception or if he logged in. He had 1 reception for 13 yards. But again, his blocking was noticeable, and he's absolutely the number 1 tight end. He's one of the more valuable players so far. And so Westbrook was a positive point. Richard Lego looked decent. I mean, there were moments. It was kind of similar to last week where there were moments where he looked pretty good, and then there were drives where he just didn't look comfortable and didn't.
Especially in the second half, Indiana's offense started to stall out some more than it did in the first half, and they just weren't able to keep drives going, and there were some 3-and-outs, and you saw Joseph Gideon more in the second half than you did in the first half.
Yeah, Gideon except for one play, he had a great night.
Which may not have been his fault.
Right. He did get a punt blocked that was returned.
And that's what really gave Ball State the momentum that they had later in the game.
Yeah, it was. But his 4 of his 5 punts pinned Ball State back inside their own 20. after his first game where he pinned FIU inside the 23 of 5 punts. So he's been a bright spot, certainly for Indiana so far this year. And then, I mean, Richard Lego statistically has been pretty good. I mean, 17 for 27, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. And again, like we said last week, most importantly, no interceptions, a couple not great passes, but he's been decent enough for Indiana so far. Divine Redding had another 100-yard rushing game.
His 5th consecutive.
5 in a row.
And I think what's also, I'm sure what something else that Kevin Wilson liked to see was that IU did not turn the ball over today.
Yeah.
They had that close call on
Yeah.
Timmy and coughed it up,
Yeah.
but it went forward and out of bounds, so the ball went back to Indiana.
Yeah, and Indiana on the other side of the ball in the first half forced 3 takeaways, including
2 fumble recoveries from Jonathan Crawford.
Yeah, both from Crawford, where Oliver forced the first one, Scales forced the second one.
I think it was Riggins.
No, it was Oliver and Scales that forced the 2. They were credited with the forced fumbles. But Riggins had a good, Ashawn Riggins, freshman cornerback, had a good night. He had a huge sack, which actually did also force a fumble, but the quarterback fell on it. So definitely a lot of positive signs for Indiana tonight. They got the win, which, for Indiana football, wins are wins. 2-0 is 2-0, regardless how you get there. They go into the bye week next week, and then Wake Forest, another 2-0 team that maybe hasn't done it very impressively, but they've done it. 2-0 is 2-0. They come here in a couple weeks. We'll obviously be here again for that. But for tonight, I think that's basically all we really had to cover. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. It appears that summer is quickly drawing to an end, so get outside as much as you can, enjoy it. But we'll be in here writing and recording videos and whatnot. So thanks for watching. For Seth Tao, I'm Alex McCarthy, and you have a good Sunday.